What's going on, guys? Kevin here from thesportsgeek.com. This is my first time doing a live stream in a little bit. I took some time off last week, and I'm hopefully going to get back at it this week if I can make some time. So if you guys are watching this video, make sure you click the like button if you guys are enjoying these live stream videos, and I'll continue to do them as often as I can. So let me just share this on Twitter, and then we'll get started. All right, so I'm logged into Fantasy Labs here. I've looked around a little bit today, but haven't done too much research. It's 5:15 p.m. Eastern, so a lot of the lineups are in, it looks like, at least for the early games. And then we're waiting on just a couple lineups in a late game in San Francisco. But that's the only late game of the night, so it's pretty nice to have most of the lineups confirmed here. Looks like we've got a little bit of rain in Texas, light rain in Boston that we've got to watch, and in New York, and also in Baltimore. So that's stuff to look at to make sure you're not putting in any players who are going to be in a rain delay and or postponement of a game. So we've got to watch that closer to 7 p.m. And then we've got the Vegas dashboard here on Fantasy Labs. Let's take a look at some of the higher implied team totals. So Baltimore has risen 0.4, so they've almost gone up half a run, up to 5.7. So they might be someone to watch for tonight. Toronto's up to 6.1. They've moved up as well, so definitely take a look at Toronto tonight. Boston's down 0.1, but they're still at 5.4. We've got Texas down almost half a run, but they're still at 5.4, so still worth a look, I think. The Cubs are at 5. And that looks like pretty much it for the real high team totals or implied team totals. So those are some teams to look at, but we'll start off with pitchers in the Sports Geek model. So starting at pitcher at the top here with an 81 rating, we've got Noah Syndergaard. He struggled a little bit lately. You can see a start here with 0.75, a start here with 10 DraftKings points, but he's had a couple good starts over his last 3 against the Cubs. Putting up 28 and 23 DraftKings points. He's always going to get a lot of strikeouts. Just depends if he gets hit hard. In a couple games, he did get hit around a little bit, but he's definitely a very good option tonight at 11,100. We're getting a pretty good discount off of Arrieta. Arrieta would be another really good tournament play. It's going to be tough to fit him in lineups with a bunch of other expensive players, so he won't be, I don't think, too highly owned. I think most people will go to Syndergaard, but Arrieta is probably the next best choice of the night. 12,400. You can see same thing. He had a couple rough starts, but he got back on track in his last start. 26.15 DraftKings points. Just checking the chat here. What's up, Jeffrey? What's up, Reed? Great call this past weekend. I'm guessing that you're talking about the golf with Vegas. That was a lot of fun. What's up, Carlos? Should I start PV? We'll get to PV in a second. He's up kind of near the top, so we'll talk about him in a sec. But back to Arrieta. So 26 DraftKings points in his last start. Looks like the rest from the All-Star break helped him a little bit. He should be back to his normal self if you look at his past DraftKings starts, averaging probably around 25 DraftKings points over these however many starts are listed here. So I don't think I'll be taking Arrieta tonight just because of the high price tag, but he's always capable of putting up a big DraftKings night, so it'd be a good tournament play. I don't think I'll go with him. I think I want some expensive bats in my lineup tonight, so I think I'll go with, if I do go with an expensive pitcher, it might be Pomeranz, Aaron Sanchez, or Noah Syndergaard. So next up, we got Dallas Keuchel, 88,000. I think he's a good tournament play. I think he'll be popular just given that if you look at his last 4 starts, he seems to have gotten it back together. If you look at his last maybe 10 starts, it looks like he's gotten it back together a little bit. Not quite like the past, but if you see here, he's averaging about 20 DraftKings points his last 3 games. So that'd be good enough for $8,000 for me to take him. He's going up against the Yankees, who strike out a lot, quite a bit, I think. Let's take a look. Not as much as I thought. There's definitely better options as far as strikeouts go on the night. Arrieta's facing the White Sox, who strike out a lot. I guess it just depends on who's in the lineups for each team. But Arrieta seems like he's got a good matchup for strikeouts. But that's all factored into the model as well. Next up here, we got Ian Kennedy, 7,300. Another good option, I think. I think I'm going to need to go with at least one cheap pitcher in my tournament lineup tonight. I'm just throwing one tournament lineup in the mains in the $333 contest, I think it is tonight. Throwing one lineup in there, and I'll probably be going with at least one cheap pitcher, maybe two. So Ian Kennedy might be that guy as well. If you look at his game logs, struggled a bit his last two starts. Before that, he was doing really well. Put up 37 DraftKings points against Houston, 15, and then 26. So he's been up and down a bit. And it kind of worries me that he is coming off a rough start. So I might avoid him in my one lineup. If I was doing multiple lineups, I would probably take a chance at him at 7,300. Carlos says, got to pick Aaron Sanchez. I agree with that. I'll talk about him in a second. I think he's a good tournament pick. Samuel, what's going on? Arrieta is going to be low owned tonight. Yeah, I think Arrieta will be pretty low owned, just given how expensive he is. I think there's better options, and I think a lot of people are going to want to go with more expensive bats. So I don't think Arrieta will be too high owned, but being the most expensive pitcher on the board, he will have some ownership. A lot of people just like to have the most expensive pitcher. And a big name like that will have some ownership. We'll see how high it is at 7 o'clock. And then the other expensive pitchers, I guess there's two remaining expensive pitchers that are definitely worth a look. And Drew Pomeranz is one of them. Although he got roughed up in his last start, if you look at his 4 starts previous, 20 or more DraftKings points in each. So I think he's going to bounce back with Boston. Is that his first start with Boston? I forget. Yeah, it might be his first start with Boston, so be interesting to see how he does. His matchup against Detroit's okay. Detroit's been playing better lately, but Pomeranz is someone I would take in a tournament lineup. But I think if I was going to avoid Syndergaard tonight and Arrieta, and I wanted an expensive option, I think I would go with Aaron Sanchez, who has been pretty solid lately. Take a look. He's facing San Diego, so he's not the best hitting team. Let's see if this loads up for me. All right, for some reason his game log isn't loading up. Let me just Google it. Carlos says he was thinking about Kennedy. Yeah, Kennedy would be a good tournament option. He wouldn't be my first pick, I don't think, just because of his last start. Kind of worries me. But if I was putting in a couple lineups, Kennedy would be okay. Reed said there's thunderstorms in New York, so fade the pitchers. Yeah, that's definitely something to watch. You want to be checking your lineups closer to lock and check the weather. So back to Sanchez here. If we go to his game logs, go to July. Over his July starts, looks like, where's his strikeouts? Let me see here. Yeah, so strikeouts seem to be down a little bit for Sanchez. But batters are hitting just 194 against him in July with a .85 whip. So definitely an option. He's been pitching deep into games pretty much all year. And the same is true for July. 8 innings, a little bit shorter of an outing with 5 innings and then 7 innings his last start. So he gets deep into games. He has the high strikeout potential. You can see he had 12 strikeouts back here in June. He's got the strikeout potential. He would definitely be a solid tournament play, in my opinion, against San Diego, who is expected to score just 3.4 runs tonight. That's their implied team total. And it's gone down 0.4. So that might be a good choice, Aaron Sanchez. And then I skipped over Michael Pineda. So he would be another cheap option worth looking at. I don't love his matchup against Houston, but coming off his last start where he threw 6 innings with 8 strikeouts and no earned runs, definitely worth a look. If you look over his past 8 starts or so, he put up 20 or more DraftKings points in looks like 6 of them. A couple rough starts here, but he bounced back against Baltimore. So Pineda would be another good, cheaper option. Again, none of these pitchers are too cheap. If we want to go even cheaper, I would have to go with Jake Peavy, who's ranked 8th on the model here. Not a great option, but if you want some more expensive bats in your lineups, you're probably going to have to go down to someone like Jake Peavy at 6,100. Over his last 3 starts, not too bad. 24, the rough start with 6 DraftKings points, and then 15 DraftKings points. So it's definitely a risk, but something you might want to do in tournaments. You might want to go with like a Syndergaard and a Peavy, and that will leave you some salary for your batters. So take a look at the batters here, and we've got a ton of expensive batters. If you see at the top here, most of these guys are over 4,000, a couple of them over 5,000. So it's going to be tough to fit in expensive pitchers with some high quality hitters tonight, but you can find some bargains, of course, if you're looking through the Sports Geek model. There's going to be some guys in the 3,000s, even 2,000s near the top. So depends which way you want to go with your pitchers, if you want to go expensive or cheap. Samuel says second start for Boston. Okay, yeah, so Pomeranz did have a start for Boston. Okay, that's good to know. And again with Pineda, anyone pitching in New York, is Pineda in New York? I have to see here. Anyone pitching in New York, there is some bad weather. So it looks like that one's in Houston. But it's the Mets that are in New York. So just watch out for rain in those games. Always be checking up on Fantasy Labs. You can see here it notifies you with a red or yellow color if there's some bad weather possible. So it looks like we've got Boston, New York, and Baltimore. That's always updating, so make sure you check in on that. So back to the hitters, let's take a look at some stacks for tonight. Let's go to the 5 for the stack size, confirmed and projected. We've got Chicago 1 to 5 ranking first. We've got Toronto 1 through 4, and then throwing in 9, Travis. So you got a little bit of you got some correlation there. Travis batting 9th, and then he'll be followed by Bautista. Then we've got another Chicago stack up here, a Colorado stack, which kind of surprised me, given their implied team total wasn't too high, 4.3, and Baltimore's is 5.7. It's kind of surprised me that they were up there, so maybe that would be a good tournament stack, Colorado. Texas was someone I was looking at earlier. I think that they would be a good stack. You could do 1 to 5 possibly, or the top rated one here in the Sports Geek model is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7 hitters. We got some more Chicago, more Toronto. We've got a Boston one. So if you guys have the Fantasy Labs subscription, make sure you're checking out the Sports Geek model for some stacks. Personally, Sammy, let me just check the chat here. Samuel says, do you think Sanchez will be way too popular facing the Padres? I think he will be popular, but not too popular that I'd be worried about it in tournaments or anything. I don't think he's going to be up near 40% or anything like that. That would want me to fade him. So I'm not too worried about his ownership. He's pretty expensive tonight, but like I said, I do think he's a good tournament play, even if he's 25-30% owned. Let's see. All right, that's it for the chat questions. So overall, I'm just going to wrap this up, guys. I'll be doing one main lineup, and I still got to look at what stacks I can fit in there with what pitchers. So I'm not set on a pitcher or anything. I do like Syndergaard. I do like Keuchel. I do like Pomeranz, Aaron Sanchez, and Jake Peavy. I'm guessing my lineup will have 2 of those guys in it. And then as far as stacks, I'm not sure if I'll do a full 5-man stack or maybe 3 or 4-man stacks. We'll have to see when I'm building my lineups just how it fits. I know I want some expensive bats in the lineup, so I might not be able to do like a full Toronto or a full Chicago stack, but some of the teams I'll be looking at for sure, Chicago, Toronto. I think Baltimore is interesting. I got to look into that more, but they've risen up to 5.7 for their implied team total. So I'll be looking at Baltimore, and that's probably it. Probably Chicago, Toronto, and Baltimore for me. I'll take a look and try to fit in one of those stacks. So as always, guys, click that like button if you enjoy these videos. Try to help you guys out a little bit, taking a look at the Sports Geek model. Try to do this every day throughout the week, but sometimes I can't do it. And I just want to make sure I get some positive feedback so I can keep doing these. I don't want to waste my time doing them if they're not helping anyone. So make sure you click that thumbs up button. Retweet this on Twitter if you have it on Twitter. And good luck in your contest, guys. Good luck.